Greetings, friend, and welcome to the Between the Covers podcast, where we are working every day to remove the self-limiting beliefs that are preventing us from becoming the heroes of our own stories. I am Marcus Spar, and I wanted to talk today about the concept of our dreams. It's 2024, by the way, Happy New Year. Even though it's only been a couple of days now, I do hope that 2024 is treating you well and it is helping to lay a foundation of what this year is to be for you. Let's talk about dreams. I can recall being a young kid and just having so many dreams of what I hoped my life would be like when I became an adult. Many of those dreams were not really all that feasible if you understand where I came from, being obsessed with swords and sorcery and wanting to be a medieval knight. Or even as I got older, my dreams became more centered around becoming a Japanese samurai. Those are not really all that feasible, considering I am born in the wrong age and even the wrong country for all of those to even take place. Growing up, we all had incredible dreams. I reminded of this motivational speaker that came to, I think it was when I was in high school, came to talk to the school about, well, some kind of motivational thing. I honestly don't remember what he was talking about, but I do remember him sharing the story of having this one kid, or no, not this one kid. He was in a grade school and was just talking to this one class, and he was asking these kids what it is that they wanted to be when they grew up. One kid was holding his hand up, another one was holding it up, and was like shaking. He calls on the first one, and the kid says, "I want to be a fireman." And it's like, yeah, it's a pretty common dream, a pretty common goal for young children. And he's like, "Oh, yeah, that's a good dream." And then another kid raises his hand and stands up and says, "I want to be the fire chief." And he's like, the speaker is thinking to himself, he's like, "Oh, this kid knows what he wants. He's not just shooting for the bare minimum. He's wanting to go for the top." And he's like, "I don't see this going anywhere else at this point." And yet this one kid was still raising his hand, even holding it up, shaking. It's like, okay, this kid really has something that he wants to say here. So he calls on the other kid. He's like, "Okay, well, what is it that you want to be?" And the kid stands up and says, "I want to be the fire truck," and starts running around the room making noises of fire trucks. And I just love the spirit of this story, that we can have some grand dreams that as children we honestly think that they're possible. Much like this example, you have a kid who firmly believed that he could be a fire truck and he wanted to be the fire truck. I firmly wanted to, oh gosh, I guess I'm going to get pretty vulnerable here. uh I wanted to be an elf in a fantasy adventure setting like Lord of the Rings. I was always fascinated with the elves and their grace and their intelligence and their magic and their abilities, which I lacked pretty much all of them. And as a kid, I believed that was possible. I wholeheartedly believed that I could be whatever it is that I wanted. Oftentimes, as we get older, through the loving influence and maybe not so loving influence of those around us, we begin to learn that no, that's not possible. You can't do that. In fact, I am reading this book right now by Shad Helmstetter on what to say when talking to yourself. And I'm still very early on in this book. I have to read this book in small chunks because there's just so much for me to process here. And one of the things that he says is we have received millions upon millions of messages while growing up telling us what we can and can't be. And this sets up the programming of our beliefs. I'm certain with the story that I shared from this motivational speaker that there was a time when there was a grown up or maybe even some peers that told this young kid, hey, you can't be a fire truck. No matter how hard you try, you just can't be a fire truck. You're a human. You're not a truck. You're not a machine. You don't have an engine. You don't have well, I guess kids do have sirens if you just think about noises that they make. But it's impossible. It becomes impossible for a kid to even think that he can become something that he physically can't. And that's something that a loving grown up, maybe a parent, an older sibling, would ease into and let this young boy know you can be a fireman. You can be on the truck, but you can't be the truck. And that messaging starts to influence how we begin to navigate the world. The reason why I am reading this book by Shad Helmstetter is because I am wrestling with some very deep-seated self-limiting beliefs. And I'm hoping that through this seems to be a long journey of going through this book and processing everything that he says, I will be in a better position to handle these thoughts and these beliefs that keep coming up inside of me. And a lot of these are influenced by what's happened in my childhood and the messages that I received about what I can and can't do. Is there a dream that you've had where you were told that it's something that you can do, and so take all the steps necessary to achieve it? Or did you receive messages saying, nope, that's not feasible, you can't do that? I have had many friends over the years who have been artists, and they've been really good at what they do and the art that they can create. And yet they also did not believe that they could make a living off of this art. Now, granted, anything in the creative sector, it's going to be difficult to be successful. I was just reading earlier today about a video game studio that worked for a long time and had a lot of headaches and setbacks in first developing and then releasing their first big video game title. And in 4 days, it flopped. And now this studio has to shut its doors. It has to close. Those are disheartening stories. People who put themselves out there in order to create something that they want others to enjoy, and then no one enjoys it. So much so that there is the concept of the starving artist. I remember a friend of mine in high school, a good friend of mine, she and I were in a lot of art classes together. And she had the idea of being a waitress in New York to make ends meet while she was trying to establish herself as an artist, and was firmly believing in the concept that in order for her to succeed, she had to be the starving artist. What if that's something that's not necessary? What if your dreams can actually become a reality? What if the dreams that we are setting up for ourselves right now are tame in comparison to what they could be? I think about myself, think about my writing. It has been my dream to become a published author. And that's something that when I think about the actions and even what I say around this dream, very limiting in scope. What if I wanted to become the next New York Times best-selling author? What if I wanted to write a book that would be published in dozens of languages around the world? But no, I'm not going for something so grand when I think about my desire and my dream to be a published author. All I want to do is publish a book so I can say I am a published author. That's pretty small in scale compared to what it could be. I have met New York Times best-selling authors, and most of them, they're not really any different than me. They are individuals who have just taken the time and they write and they craft, they improve themselves, and they put themselves out there. Did they have dreams of becoming a New York Times bestselling author? I don't know. I honestly didn't ask them. Maybe I should sometime. And yet, I look at them and think that, man, they have it. They have what it takes to go the distance. They have something that I lack. And then as soon as I actually meet them and I start talking with them, these are individuals that are just curious about the world around them. These are individuals who have their own struggles, who run into roadblocks along their journeys, and they just keep going. What I would like to challenge you on is, are your dreams big enough? Are your dreams going to help you get where you want to be? Are your dreams too small because that way, if you don't achieve them, then it's not going to be that disappointing? That's how I'm starting to feel right now. Am I just saying that I want to be a published author because that way I have years and years, well, hopefully I have years and years to write and eventually get that one book published? It only takes one book being published to become a published author. What would it take for me to become something grander? What would it take for me to become a New York Times best-selling author? What would it take for me to develop a story that is grand enough that someone wants to make a movie out of it or a TV show out of it? Those would be wonderful dreams. And yet, I find myself resistant to claiming those dreams, that those are what I'm trying to achieve. Because if I fail, then the heartbreak that's going to follow is going to be so much worse than if it's just one book that gets published. Even in my own dreams, I am allowing my self-limiting beliefs to hold me back. It doesn't have to be this way. I don't have to be beholden to these negative thoughts or even these fears that are telling me it's too hard, you can't do it, it's not going to be worth it. Do you see how far you're going to fall if you fail? Great. I'm starting to get to the point where I would rather crash and burn in failing at these dreams instead of just letting them pass by and find myself at the end of my life and just thinking, man, I wish I did that. I wish I tried. I wish I tried harder. Since I was talking about New Year's resolutions last week, and there's a lot of people who do come up with resolutions, I felt it was important to start off 2024 talking about what it is to dream big. What if instead of just getting rid of some hang up or some habit in your life that is not serving you, what if it was something even better? What if you could achieve true vulnerability and intimacy with someone you are in love with? What if instead of finding a friend that you can open up to, someone that you can spend time with, what if you found a group of people that can take you further than you've ever gone before? What if instead of finding a job, something that's just going to pay the bills, something that's just going to help you get by, what if you landed the dream job, the job or even the career that you wake up in the morning and you are excited to go to work more days than not? What if you could have that? There is a client that I work with who I am quite inspired by as he and I have conversations. One of the things that he has admitted to is there is a very specific place that he wants to land when he is done with his training and his schooling. There is a very specific place he wants to get a job at. He wants to land a job in a very well-known and, dare I say, well-respected company within the industry he's trying to get into. This is something that most people likely wouldn't shoot for because they would think that they weren't good enough. And here is this young man who is like, no, I'm going to shoot for the stars. This is where I want to be. This is my dream. I want to be in this place by the time I graduate. That's huge. And he's working toward it. He's putting in the time and the energy where he can in order to make this dream a reality. He's not settling for anything less than his best. That's what we're trying to do here. That is becoming the hero of our stories. I'm proud of this guy, and I am also incredibly thrilled to have the opportunity to converse with this young man, someone who is almost half my age, and he has inspired me to greatness in the conversations we've had. Dream big. Take a look at what your dreams are and see if there is anything that is hindering any expectations that you could have for how things could be better, for how things could be more glamorous, more prosperous, more, I don't know, loving, more vulnerable, more intimate, more grand than what you are currently expecting. We can all do more, and we can do better than many of us are doing right now. And I'm lumping myself in with you as I say that. I could be doing more. I could be writing more. I could be putting myself out there more in order to get this book published, to achieve this dream. And yet I allow myself to sit in my own limiting thoughts that it's going to be too hard. That the best I can do is get a book published, the bare minimum of achieving this dream. And I want more. I want more than what this dream is telling me. I want more than what my own lack of self-confidence is telling me is possible within the realms of this dream. I want to challenge you to the same greatness that I am challenging myself here. As you start this brand new year of 2024, it is my sincerest hope that your dreams become a much grander reality than even you could have anticipated they would. And I also encourage you that if not every day, most people would say you need to do this every day. I would say if not every day, then at least every single week, you're doing something in order to make that dream become a reality. For me, that means at least every single week, I am going to work on my writing. I am going to work on my novels and push to get them prepared to go through what I anticipate to be the painful process of getting it published. And I am telling myself that it's going to be worth it in the end to achieve the dream that I have of not just having one book published, but having a series published. Having a book become a New York Times best-selling book. Creating a world and an adventure that is catching the eyes of millions around the world to where it moves into a different media. That is my big dream. I'm not just saying that I want to publish a book and I hope these things will happen. I am changing my dream to say this is what I want to happen and this is what I need to move toward. I hope you can find the same thing, because our dreams, they give us something to look forward to. They give us something to work toward. They give us meaning and a reason in life. Let your dreams be grand. And until next time, live strong for today. Thanks so much for watching or listening to this podcast. If you like what you're hearing, then give this video a like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future uploads. If you are interested in working with me, then take a look in the description where you can find my website or a link just to schedule a free 50-minute one-on-one call with me. Looking forward to talking with you soon.